In this video I'm going to show you how to change a transmission yoke on a drive shaft using a vise. You can also use this method to actually change a U-joint without using a press, or if you don't have access to a press. It's quite simple, usually quite simple. Some drive shafts are a little bit different. You know, some GM drive shafts you have to heat up with a torch, because instead of clips I have a Teflon clip, I guess you could call it. You heat it up and it comes out and it allows you to remove the caps. Okay, first I'm going to start with moving the seat clips. On this I'm only changing the yoke. On this the vehicle that's going into this is a chromoly drive shaft with a this is a forged transmission yoke, and we're replacing it with a chromoly yoke. What happened is when it was installed where the output shaft ends, it actually twisted the spines. You usually see that a lot of that with drag racing. It's going in a 55 Chevy. And it's a pretty heavy car. It's got a 502 Chevy in it. Makes pretty good power. And it has Mickey Thompson drag radials, so it sticks pretty good. So what happened was it ended up twisting the splines. Go ahead and start changing this. Okay. Basically what you want is you want this part to sit in between jaws, like so. I usually try to position the vise to where I can lay the drive shaft on the bench. You can move it around easily. Basically what you do is you take the clips out. This will be floating freely. Tap it with a hammer. Sometimes the caps come out pretty easy, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you should a pair of pliers, or something I'm going to do is pop the other one out. Try to do this without harming any of the needles. Grab a bigger pair of pliers. to check down inside the bearing cap. Focus. You can't. There we go. You can see there's one of the needles fell out. I just want to check and make sure all the needles are in place. Let's back up. Set it back in, just run your finger around there and make sure nothing else down in there. Okay, that looks good. I use my special U-joint socket. As you can see, it's been used quite often. That one's in there pretty good. So I'm grab an extension. Actually, this probably worked pretty well. So I just want to finish tapping that cap out. Make sure you try to put your finger underneath to catch the cap as it's coming out, because you don't want the cap to fall on the ground and all the needles go everywhere. Just lightly tap, came right out. Pretty easy. Some, like I said, some are real tight or real pain. Okay. Now to reinstall, open the vice jaws up enough to accommodate the yoke with the caps. What you can do, install the yoke. Usually what I like to do is get one cap lined up, and take the other cap and double check, make sure there's no needles. So what happens when you go to press it back together and you have a needle down on the bottom, it's not going to fully seat, and a lot of times if you try to apply too much pressure to it, it will actually break the needle, and then you never pull that needle out and run it, which I don't suggest, or you have to buy a new U-joint. Don't want that. There's nothing wrong with this one. These are 1350 joints. Okay. Install the cap. Go. Okay, now what you want to do, essentially what I'm doing is I'm using the vise as a press. Usually doesn't take that much force to get them in. You always put it in, try to get them lined up pretty well, and depending on what kind of vise you have, sometimes it can be tough. What's nice about doing it this way is you can adjust the yoke back and forth this way. And what that'll do is that'll line up the pins on the U-joint going into the cap. And you usually want to get it pretty close here, that way it's good this way. And you can adjust that by actually moving it. You know, if you got to go one way, put one of the caps a little lower in the jaws. Take a light, look down in there, make sure it's going in pretty center. Sometimes it likes to grab one of the needle pins. Adjustment. Make sure she's centered. And then usually what I do is try to push to one side in. Okay, it's meeting a little resistance. Which way do we gotta go? Go. Just slide in right there. Kind of just try to hold it. And slowly pick up the vise. And I'll push the caps in. Sometimes one side will go in first. Just push the rest in until you get both caps bottom out on a yoke. And the next thing you do is just take this out, use the pad of the vise, and this is where the U-joint socket comes into play. Right down past where the clips go. Make sure the clip is in its notch. Side. Same. A little tight. Seems to be going in now. And just give it a little push. Spin the clip around. You know what I'm doing is making sure that the pin is seated in, or the clip is seated in a notch good. Yeah, I'll just went in a little bit. Don't want the caps flying out. tight sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta take and try not to hit around where the clip goes in, because you'll bend a little notch. Usually I like to hit here. Do one little whack there. Just kind of seat them a little bit, and one whack there. You see the clip push out just a little. You don't want to go too much, because you don't want any slop inside the side. Check. Make sure it's good. Yep. That's it. New yoke installed. Thanks for watching.